Welcome to another unboxing from theplayersaid.com. I'm Grant. Today I'm unboxing a game that is kind of a war game. It's a solitaire game, a little bit of a war game, kind of an Ameritrash game. It's a sci-fi theme. This came out earlier this year from Danverson Games. It's called The War of the Worlds. And if you know anything about this series or this game, there's actually 4 different games. You will notice by the art on the cover, this is the War of the Worlds England. You can see the English flag there. And the art, there's Big Ben. You can see the tripods attacking the poor British. But there's actually 4 of these. There's England, Eastern United States, Japan, and I believe France. And they're each a little bit different. They use the same system, but I think each side has different art, different counters, different look, and they may have some specific different rules, but I don't know. I only have the England version. You can also, and I'll show you this here in a moment at the end of the rule book, you can also link these together and play 2 or 3 of these games simultaneously. I think you can play up to 4 of them simultaneously, and then use those to all work together to save people, get refugees off. Once you get refugees off, you're then going to be able to do certain special abilities like build more stuff or do more things. So really a neat system. I've seen this on many players that I follow on Twitter and Facebook, and they've been playing it over the past 6 months. And it's one that I just have been itching to play, so I got a copy. Really nicely done. It's a small 2-inch box, but it's very sturdy, very well done. Here's a look at the back. We'll go over these things. The counters are vertical counters that have little standees. You have some custom dice. There are event cards. I think the designer eventually said that he had wanted to do this as a card-driven game, but that the brain trust at DVG decided to change that. But yeah, with a name like War of the Worlds, you know it's based on the famous H.G. Wells novel. This game is set in the early part of the 20th century, the early 1900s, and Martians are attacking. The tripods have come. They're invading to destroy humanity. Your goal is to fight them off, make sure they don't destroy your country, and get rid of them. So this game has naval battles. It has land battles. Lots of good battles. There's also production concerns and then resource management. And then you're using cards and events to assist you. But let's go ahead and dive into this. I just refreshed myself on the rules about 5 minutes before opening this. But it's a very simple game. It's a solitaire game. You can see the rules are about 20 pages. And I'd mentioned the optional League of Terran Nations, which is where you're going to play 2 to 4 different nations all at the same time, and they're going to work together in certain areas. The rule book is very clear. The language is concise. Here's kind of a look at the map. We'll go over it here in a moment, but very clear understanding of what these different areas are. The game does have a land battle and naval battle map, so that's kind of cool. Here's a look at some of the counters. We'll go over those, and then there's a look at those tripods. You'll notice there are 2-sided, one's undamaged, and one is damaged. But there's lots of good examples. We'll talk a little bit about some of those. I'm not going to go into great depth, but you can see here's an example of a battle card. You're going to draw this card, and this card is going to tell you how the Martians that are located in the battle are going to react. I'll talk to you a little bit about that. The goal of the game is for the humans to accumulate what's called 10 germ points. And as you know from either reading the novel or seeing the movies over the years, germs are what end up ultimately killing the Martian invaders. They just don't have the ability to fight off our infections. But you have to get germ points. Germ points come from, I think, your population points, and you're just going to try to get as many of those as possible. and the Martians are trying to colonize England in this game, or Earth, and they're going to score points when they have devastated, colonized areas that have been taken over by the infamous redweed. So let's go ahead and look at the board. Really nice board. It is a board of England. I'm going to move the box. Mounted map board. And I have not had a chance to, what do you call it? Compress this with heavy games to get it to lay flat. You can see it's a really nice looking map of England. This is England at the beginning of the 19th century. You can see Scotland at the very top. And then here are the different regions. Southampton is where Alexander's from. So I'm going to do my best to allow this to get destroyed. I'll have to rub that in his face. I have actually family roots from Wales and then Ireland as well. I have a lot of Irish, English blood in my DNA. But yeah, very, very nice looking map, very functional. You'll notice here on the right side is a great sequence of play. You've got the production phase, battle phase, devastation phase, human action phase, escape phase. This is where you're going to earn VPs as the humans. Martian action phase, and then assembly phase, and then you're going to start it all over. The game doesn't have a certain amount of turns. You're going to play until one side or the other accumulates, either for the Martians 10 colonization points or for the humans 10 germ points. So that's how the game is going to progress. So that's the sequence of play. Very nice. Very important, I think, in solitaire games to have a good sequence of play right on the map. You'll also know that London is called out here in the bottom right. If London is ever destroyed, the humans immediately lose. So that's important to remember and focus on. Here on the left are, I think these are production points. That each side is, this is where you're tracking your points, your germ points and your colonization. These are the tripod waves at the top. So you're going to have a wave that comes up. You're going to place a certain amount of units in there. And then your goal as the humans is to destroy that wave before they can do some damage. You'll also notice there are numbers in these boxes. These are your production values for those areas. You're going to use production value to then buy units. Infantry, cavalry, field guns, and siege guns. You need those in order to fight off the Martians. You'll also notice there are factories here. There are harbors because there are naval battles. That's important to remember. The Martians are also trying to construct a flying machine, which will ultimately lead to them having an auto win. So that's a good look at the map. Very well done. I think it looks great and is it's a nice looking game. Player aid cards, very important. This is a fold out which shows you all the different action phases that we've talked about. I'll show you the custom dice here in a moment. Here's the cost of those units during the production phase. You can put those out. It's a single-sided play aid, but looks to be very well done. This is that League of Terran Nations table that I was telling you about. If you're playing multiple games, these are the elements that you're trying to accomplish. Here is a look at the two different types of battle boards. They are single-sided cards. This is your naval battle board, and this is your land battle board. And I'll show you here in a moment, but basically what happens when you draw one of the battle cards, the card is going to say green tripods will locate in B. So you'll notice the A, B, C, D, and E are at the very top of the battle board. This is where the Martians are going to stage. And then at the bottom, you can see that's where the humans are going to stage, and you're going to attack and try to do damage as the Martians come in and try to kill you. So that's a look at the land battle board. Let's go ahead and look at the counter sheets. There are 4 counter sheets. Very simple counters, but I like them. Here's the human forces. You can see these are siege guns. And once again, these are they stand up. So let me grab a standee. I need to be careful because a lot of times when I try to put standees on counters, I end up forcing them and doing damage to the counter. Good, I did it without damaging it. You see, there's a look at a siege gun with a standee. Just a simple plastic standee. Nothing real fancy, but you're going to place that in that area, and that represents your unit. But yeah, there's siege guns. Here are field guns. Here, these are, what are these? Are these earthworks? These are your infantry, and they are double-sided. You'll notice that. Here's a look at boats, more infantry. And here's those earthworks. These are port markers. You also have characters that will come out with certain event cards and give abilities. And then you can see there at the top, there are the tripods. Different colored tripods. You have yellow, green, red, and blue. And those are going to be based on die rolls. You have cavalry also for the humans. And then these are called handlers. And they help the Martians to grow and develop. Then you also have certain what are called battle plans. These are battle plan markers. Each of these has a different special ability. For example, well, I don't want to have to go back to the rules. The explosive shell, I know, if it ever damages a tripod, it actually destroys a tripod. So you're going to buy those, put those into battles, and then they're going to go away. Terrain is going to make it harder for you to be hit, and different things like that. So those are cool. Very nice counters, very simple. But I think they are effective in doing what they are intended to do. There are custom dice. They have no numbers or symbols on them. They are just colors. So if you look at the dice, let's look at one of the dice. Green has 3 sides. So 3 out of the 6 sides are green. More often than not, green is a success. So for instance, when you attack. Now, sometimes attacks, particularly for the Martians, are based on range or the cannon, the guns. And if you're at range 2, you're only going to hit on the yellow rather than the green. So a green or a red result on this dice, which is 4 out of 6, would be a failure. There are 2 yellow sides you can see, and then there's 1 red. More often than not, red is bad. It means your unit's destroyed, what you were doing doesn't work, or you miss. So custom dice, you're going to roll 1 of these, and sometimes I think you end up rolling 2 because it says roll extra dice. So there's a look at the dice, kind of cool. And now we're going to go ahead and look at the events. And the events, the event cards, there's an event card phase, and there are different types of events. There are events that will take place in the devastation phase, devastation events. Here are the battle event cards when you're in a battle. Production event. So one of those is going to come up. Here's an assembly event. So those are going to come up in those different phases. And then let's just show you an example. Here's a production event, and it says it there at the top. Governmental action. You may roll a die. If you come green, you're going to lose 4 production points. Not good. Gain 1 human victory point if you roll a yellow. That's 2 out of 6. Gain 1 production point. Basically, it's a 6. So that's an example of how those events work, but these are going to come up. Let me show you a battle, just an example of a battle event. To the front, advance any gun 1 hex forward. That gun loses all earthworks. Earthworks are the defenses for guns, and they're important. So yeah, you have a couple packs of cards. I did want to show you the cards that control the tripods in battle. And yeah, here's some more naval battles. So here's land battles. Let me go ahead and just show you these. So lots of cards. There are lots and lots of cards. But at the beginning of a battle, you're going to draw this for the Martians. And remember, you've got different colors of Martian tripods. So remember the setup on these battle boards. Green you would set up in A. Yellow you would set up in B. Red you would set up in C. And blue you're going to put into D. And then you're going to draw another card that's going to control their actions. It's going to say that green is going to detect all. Martians cannot fire on guns, siege guns, or field guns until they've found them. So they're going to hunt for them. Yellow's going to detect, and then they're going to move to the left. Red's going to fire at the nearest target and then move to the left. And then blue's going to move straight down. So that's an example of how these work. That's a very simplified way of controlling the AI, but I think it works. But yeah, that's War of the Worlds, The War of the Worlds from Dan Verson Games. I think this is a really interesting looking solo game that I'm looking forward to playing. Like I said, I read the rules over. I may actually try to give this a go this afternoon. It's funny, I was reading a couple of people's kind of AARs. There's a couple guys on the Wargamers group that do great jobs. But they were kind of talking about, they've played it 8 or 10 times. And like most of these solo games, you're going to get devastated and destroyed the first couple of games because you just don't understand the strategy, what works, how it works, what's good, what's not good, what you have to avoid and worry about, etc. Like, for instance, Pavlov's House from Dan Verson Games. I think the first time I played it, I absolutely got destroyed. One, I didn't understand the importance of suppression tokens. And two, I didn't understand all the abilities of the different cards and the different tokens from the supply that they had. So I got destroyed. By the 5th or 6th play, I was destroying the AI, but would occasionally lose. So this game appears to be very challenging. I don't think this is an easy game. I don't think this is a game that you're going to walk through, destroy, and after 2 or 3 plays and never want to play it again. I think this does have some replayability, and frankly, this is just a fun game. It's a war-themed game with combat. I think it looks cool. I like the cards. I like the way the AI is controlled. I think this is going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to playing it. So, once again, The War of the Worlds from Dan Verson Games. I didn't show you who designed the game, and I'm going to butcher his name. Arnaud de la Ciega is the designer, and the artist is Nicholas Trail, and I think the art looks pretty good. Very thematic. I love the tripods, by the way. I think they're very, very cool. But yeah, that's a look at The War of the Worlds from Dan Verson Games. Look for a review of this and a video and maybe some action points over the next couple of weeks. But I definitely want to give this one a try and see how it plays. So thanks for watching. I've been Grant for the Player's Aid.